Next time, you can all pay for takeout too. Because I'm done. That was the last sentence I said to a room full of people who once pretended to be my family. The knife I had just used to carve a perfectly roasted turkey still sat beside me on the counter. 15 people. 15 ungrateful mouths. And not a single one of them spoke up when her sister, Lauren, scoffed and said, "At least takeout would have been edible." The room had gone dead silent for a second. Just a beat. Just long enough for my wife, Rachel, to let out a snort. That sound, that mocking, heartless sound, like I was the punchline of some private joke I wasn't invited to. And that's when I saw it. Not just heard it. Saw it. In her eyes. That flicker of contempt she tried to mask behind a sip of wine. She didn't see me as a husband anymore. She didn't even see me as a man. I'd spent 10 hours prepping. Brined the turkey overnight. Roasted vegetables with thyme and olive oil. Hand-kneaded the bread. Even made my grandmother's stuffing from scratch. And Rachel had the audacity to laugh. To laugh with them. I ripped off my apron and let it drop to the floor like a white flag I never meant to raise. Their laughter picked up again, some forced, some amused, but I didn't care. I went upstairs, locked the bedroom door behind me, and started canceling every holiday reservation with my name on it. The cabin in Lake Arrowhead for Christmas? Gone. The spring winery tour in Sonoma? Erased. Even the cruise we'd booked for our 10-year anniversary. Wiped clean. And still, not a single text from Rachel. You'd think a wife might ask where her husband went after storming off during Thanksgiving dinner. She didn't. I spent the night on the guest room couch. She never came up. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen and found her giggling on FaceTime. She saw me, rolled her eyes, and walked away mid-laugh. No, good morning. No, let's talk. Just walked off like I didn't exist in my own damn house. Something broke inside me that morning. And I didn't even know the worst part yet. You see, until then, I thought this was just your standard marital drift. We'd grown apart, right? Maybe she was stressed. Maybe I was too focused on work. Maybe her sister's a narcissist and Rachel just didn't know how to stand up to her. That was my mistake. Giving her excuses. Because that very afternoon, I found the real reason why my wife couldn't be bothered to care. I was cleaning up the remnants of dinner, still hoping she might come around, when her iPad buzzed. She always left it on the kitchen counter. Notifications lighting up like a Christmas tree. Text after text from someone saved as Tyler. Work. Yeah, sure. Work. I'm not proud of what I did next. But I tapped it open. No password. I wish I hadn't. The first message? That idiot probably thinks you're still mad about dinner. You're a savage, babe face with tears of joy. The second? Wish I could have tasted you instead of that turkey. And Rachel's reply? Just wait till Saturday. I'll be all yours. I'll fake apologize and sneak out after. I remember gripping the edge of the counter so hard I left marks in the wood. My stomach twisted into something cold and metallic. My head buzzed like I was underwater. I stood there, my hands still smelling like thyme and turkey fat, reading how my wife had been lying, scheming, betraying me with some loser who probably thought medium rare was a movie rating. It wasn't just cheating. It was cruelty. Calculated, deliberate cruelty. She wanted me humiliated, made small. Like the whole dinner was a setup, a performance to push me over the edge while she secretly planned to disappear into the arms of a guy who called her babe with a vomit emoji. And suddenly everything made sense. Why she stopped cooking. Why she worked late 3 times a week. Why she started wearing makeup to walk the dog. The worst part? I hadn't just been replaced. I'd been laughed at while it happened. I stood there frozen until the iPad buzzed again. Another message. This time from Lauren. Hope your husband doesn't cry into the cranberry sauce again this year. I still remember last Thanksgiving face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. I realized then they all knew. And that's when something in me shifted. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't even going to confront her. Not yet. Because Rachel had just declared war. And I don't lose wars. I didn't say a word that day. Not when she passed by me in the hallway like I was part of the wallpaper. Not when she asked, without looking up from her phone, if I could please clean the wine glasses because she was too tired from entertaining. I just nodded, like the obedient fool she thought I was. I didn't sleep that night. My eyes stared at the ceiling while my mind played every message I read on loop. The smirks. The snide remarks. Her sister's comment. Rachel's laugh. The way everyone treated me like a background prop in my own life. I kept seeing that line. I'll fake apologize and sneak out after. Like I was a child to be tricked. A burden. She didn't even bother to delete the messages. That's how confident she was. How certain I'd never check. How little she thought of me. Saturday came. She wore the red dress. The one she hadn't worn in over a year. The one I bought for our anniversary and she once told me didn't fit right. Now she wore it like a uniform. Her makeup was perfect, and she sprayed perfume I hadn't smelled on her in months. Not even a glance toward me as she walked by the living room, her heels tapping against the hardwood with the rhythm of betrayal. "Heading out with the girls," she said, grabbing her keys. I didn't respond. She turned, finally noticing I was watching her. "What?" she asked, cocking her head. I smiled, just barely. "Nothing. Have fun." That look in her eyes, confused, almost worried for a second, was the only satisfaction I got that day. She left at 6:37 p.m. At 6:41, I opened the hidden app on my phone connected to the GPS I had placed in her car weeks ago when I first started suspecting something was off. I watched the little dot move straight across town, not to the bar she claimed, but to an apartment complex near the river. Unit 3B. Tyler's place. I didn't rush. I didn't rage. I just watched. At 8:12, a second device I had placed, this one inside the glove compartment, with audio picked up muffled sounds. Moaning. Laughter. Her voice. She was loud. She wanted to be heard. I turned it off. I didn't need to hear any more. Instead, I got up, packed a bag, and walked to the closet. I pulled down the lockbox, opened it, and took out the file I had kept sealed for over 6 months. Copies of our shared accounts, legal documentation, passwords, a USB with all our security footage from the last 3 months. And one thing, she never thought I'd have proof of her forging my signature on a loan she took out without my knowledge. I sat at the dining table, the same one they had laughed at me around, and began building my war map. By the time she returned at 1:38 a.m., giggling quietly and tiptoeing like a teenager sneaking in after curfew, I was sitting in the dark. She froze in the hallway when she saw the faint blue glow of my laptop. "Oh, you're still up?" I looked up at her. "Couldn't sleep." She glanced at the bag by the door. "What's that?" "Just getting ready." "For what?" she asked, her tone shifting. I closed the laptop. "You'll find out soon." She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and walked upstairs without another word. She thought it was over, that she had won, that I was just sulking again, being overly dramatic, like she always said. But this time, I wasn't broken. This time, I was sharpening every piece of the shattered glass. And when it cut back, it would be deep. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Her name's Denise Harper, sharp as a blade and twice as cold. She'd handled 2 of my company's toughest acquisitions, and I trusted her with one thing, to do damage cleanly. I told her everything. Not just about the affair, but about the forged signature, the unauthorized withdrawals from our joint account, the credit card charges to hotels she never stayed at with me. She didn't flinch. Just asked for the dates, documents, and access. Then she said, "Let me guess, she doesn't know what's coming?" Not even close. For the next 3 days, I played the perfect husband. I made her coffee, picked up groceries, even offered to drop off dry cleaning. She softened. Probably thought I'd gotten over it, that I'd accepted my place in the background again. She even left her phone lying around, unlocked, sloppy, careless, or maybe just cocky. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to anymore. I had enough. Thursday night, her parents came over. I cooked. Just a small dinner, nothing like Thanksgiving. Chicken parmesan, garlic bread. Rachel smiled at me like she thought we were good again. Her mom gushed, "So happy to see you two working things out." I smiled back. "It's been enlightening." Rachel laughed. "See? I told you he just needed time." She touched my arm. I wanted to vomit. That night, I slept in our bed again for the first time in a while. She curled up next to me, whispered something about how we should plan a vacation. I nodded. She fell asleep. I didn't. The next morning, I left the house early. I met with Denise and handed her one last thing, security footage from the night Rachel brought Tyler over when she claimed to be at yoga. Tyler had come in through the back door. She had him memorize the alarm code. They didn't even bother hiding in the guest room. "My bedroom. My bed." Denise grimaced. "That'll do it." Friday evening, I waited until Rachel got out of the shower. She came into the bedroom, towel wrapped around her, humming some stupid pop song. She didn't even notice the envelope sitting on the dresser until she reached for her phone. "What's this?" she asked. "Your notice." She laughed, pulling the towel tighter. "What?" I didn't respond. She opened the envelope. Started reading. Slowly. At first confused, then pale. What the hell is this? Her voice trembled. Divorce. Fraud. Misuse of marital funds. Proof of infidelity. Oh, and that cabin in Tahoe? Yours. But the mortgage is still unpaid. I transferred it to your name. You're welcome. You can't do this. Her voice cracked now. Oh, I already did. She took a step forward. Wait, can we talk about this? Talk? I laughed. Now you want to talk? Look, whatever you think you know. I know everything, Rachel. I know about Tyler. About the money. About the forged documents. I know your sister mocked me with you. I know you've been lying to me for months. She stared at me, eyes glassy, mouth open. You're going to make a fool of me in front of everyone? I stepped closer. No, you already did that. I'm just returning the favor, legally. She tried to grab my hand. I pulled away. You don't mean this. I've never meant anything more in my life. The best part? She thought she had control. She always did. The laughs behind my back. The sneaking out. The games. But she forgot one thing. I wasn't the man she could manipulate anymore. And this? This was only the beginning. She didn't cry that night. She screamed. She threw things, her phone, a lamp, even one of my cufflinks she found in the drawer. Called me pathetic. Said I was ruining her life. Accused me of overreacting, of being emotionally unstable. She went from denial to rage to guilt-tripping in a matter of minutes. I just stood there, silent, watching her unravel. Every word out of her mouth just confirmed what I already knew. She wasn't sorry. She was just sorry she got caught. Then came the last card in her broken deck. You think you're going to end this marriage like this? She hissed. I'll make sure you pay for this. I'll tell everyone what a miserable, insecure freak you are. That you stalked me, bugged my car. That you're dangerous. I nodded once. Go ahead. Just remember, every claim you make opens you up to the evidence I've already documented. Let's see how that works out for you in court. Her face dropped. The color drained right out of it. You wouldn't. Try me. That night, she slept in the guest room. Or tried to. I could hear her pacing until nearly 4 a.m. me. I slept like a man who just escaped a burning building. In the morning, she was gone. No note. No goodbye. Just an empty closet on her side, a half-empty bottle of perfume knocked over on the bathroom counter, and silence. But I wasn't relieved. Not yet. Because I knew Rachel. She never left without a backup plan. This wasn't surrender, it was regrouping. Sure enough, by Monday, word had spread. Her friends started texting me. Her sister posted some cryptic story on Instagram, some men can't handle a real woman. I laughed when I saw it. She thought she was controlling the narrative. But Denise was already 3 steps ahead. We'd frozen the joint accounts. Flagged the credit cards. The moment she tried using our shared money to fund whatever fantasy escape she had in mind, it would trigger alerts. Then came the phone call from Tyler. That shocked me. He sounded nervous, almost scared. I didn't know, man, he said, voice trembling. She told me you guys were already separated. I didn't mean to get involved. You didn't mean to crawl into my bed? There was silence. I just wanted you to know. She told me she was going to screw you over. She was bragging about it. Said you'd fold under pressure. Said she'd take everything. I didn't say a word. I'm out, man. I blocked her. Changed my locks. I think she's dangerous. Yeah, I could have told him that. But hearing the fear in his voice? That was new. Rachel wasn't just manipulative. She was venomous. And the poison had finally reached someone else's veins. That week, I moved forward with everything. Changed all the locks. Had the alarm company come out and reset the codes. Replaced the garage opener. Got the security cameras synced to my private server. Every piece of my life she once walked through so casually now became inaccessible to her. And then I sent out the holiday cancellation emails. Every reservation we ever made. Every invite that included Mark and Rachel. I wrote simple responses. Plans have changed. Please remove Rachel from the list. Her mother called the next day. What is going on? Rachel says you're trying to ruin her. I took a deep breath. Did she tell you about the affair? A pause. She said you're paranoid. Did she mention the forged loan? Another pause. You're making a mistake, Mark. No. I made one. 10 years ago. I just finally fixed it. She hung up. That was the last time anyone from her side reached out. And finally, the silence wasn't filled with dread anymore. It felt like freedom. About a week after she vanished from the house, a letter showed up. Not an email. Not a message. An actual handwritten letter folded once, tucked in a pink envelope with no return address. I opened it like someone defusing a bomb. It wasn't an apology. It was a performance. Mark, I just needed time to think. Things escalated so quickly. I don't know how we got here, but I know that deep down, you still love me. You have to. What we had, it meant something. I know you're angry, and I know I made mistakes, but we both did. I'm willing to work through this, if you are. You were always the calm one, the patient one. Please don't let the noise from outsiders cloud what we built. She ended it with, I'll be waiting. Don't make me regret loving you. No signature. Just a lipstick stain on the fold. I read it once. Then again. Then I burned it. And it felt better than I ever expected. Because she didn't write that letter for me. She wrote it to control the narrative. To be able to say, I tried. So if anyone asked, she could paint me as the cold, unforgiving husband. The one who just couldn't let go of the past. But I knew the truth, and more importantly, so did my lawyer, and my bank, and my now updated financial planner. She wasn't coming back into my house, my finances, or my life. Not again. And yet, the emotional landmines were still everywhere. Every time I opened a drawer and found one of her earrings. Every song that randomly played in the car. Every friend who still hadn't picked a side. I'd stare at the kitchen table and remember how she once sat there in that worn UCLA hoodie, hair a mess, drinking coffee at 6 a.m. like she owned the quiet. Back then, I loved her even in those sleepy, unremarkable moments. And it's terrifying how quickly that love can rot when it's doused in lies. But pain makes you observant. I started noticing things I never allowed myself to see before. Like how her compliments always came with conditions. How every fight ended with her playing victim. How she used silence as a punishment and affection as a currency. And the worst part? How long I tolerated it. Made excuses. Took the blame. I started going to the gym again. Not to improve or impress anyone. Just to feel control again. To feel sweat and breath and soreness that meant something. I started sleeping through the night, too, for the first time in years. No more staying up late wondering why she wasn't home. No more listening for footsteps that never came. One day I stood in front of the mirror, fully dressed for work, and I said out loud, "You're not broken." And I wasn't. I was bruised. I was burned. But I wasn't broken. And that small truth was the beginning of something bigger. By the end of that month, the divorce papers were processed. The accounts were split. Denise had done her job like a surgeon, clean, precise, no loose ends. Rachel never contested anything. She knew she'd lose. She didn't even show up to the final mediation. She sent a lawyer with a list of requests. Almost all were denied. And then it was done. Just like that. 10 years reduced to signatures and silence. But for the first time in a long time, silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like peace. A few weeks after the divorce was finalized, I started getting messages. Not from Rachel. No, she knew better. These were from mutual acquaintances. People who'd been at our wedding. People who sat at my Thanksgiving table. People who stayed silent while her sister mocked me in front of a room full of guests. Now they wanted to check in. Now they wanted to say things like, "I always thought something was off between you two," or "She didn't deserve you, Mark." Cowards. Every single one of them had watched it happen in real time and stayed quiet. Not a single person had pulled me aside, asked if I was okay, or called her out when she humiliated me. But now that the dust had settled and Rachel was exposed for who she really was, they wanted to pretend like they'd been on my side all along. I didn't respond to most of them. There was nothing to say. But one message stood out. It was from an old friend, Jake, someone I hadn't seen in years, who moved to Colorado after college. He sent a simple line. Saw the news. I remember how she used to talk to you. You good. That one hit different. Because he had seen it. Way before I did. He'd once told me, years ago at a barbecue, "Man, I don't know what it is, but when Rachel talks to you sometimes, it's like she's talking to a waiter who forgot her order." I laughed it off back then. I messaged him back this time. Took me too long, but I'm finally good. He replied, better late than never. He was right. And it wasn't just that the chaos was over. It was the realization that I'd been living in a slow burn disaster for years. Rachel hadn't just cheated on me physically, she'd chipped away at me every day with condescension, manipulation, and silence. She'd turned our marriage into a spotlight where she was the star, and I was just the guy managing the lights backstage. But not anymore. Now, I did things alone. By choice. I cooked for myself and enjoyed it. I traveled alone for the first time in over a decade, took a weekend trip to Seattle, wandered Pike Place, ate seafood with strangers, and didn't have to check in with anyone. No guilt. No passive-aggressive texts asking where I was. No tracking apps on my phone. Just freedom. One night, I came home late from a meeting, tired but content. I poured a drink, sat on the couch, and looked around my house. My house. The silence wasn't oppressive anymore. It was peaceful. Earned. I went upstairs, took a shower, and when I stepped out, I saw the smallest thing that used to annoy me, a towel on the floor, her old habit. Only it wasn't hers. It was mine this time. And I smiled. Because it didn't matter. It wasn't a symptom of neglect. It wasn't an argument waiting to happen. It was just a towel. It felt good to know that the messes in my life were finally mine, and only mine, to clean. Spring came faster than I expected. Funny how time moves when you're no longer waiting for apologies that never come. The trees outside bloomed, the air warmed up, and I started opening the windows again. Letting the breeze in. Letting the past out. I didn't realize how long I'd been holding my breath in that house. One afternoon, I was organizing the garage, something Rachel always called a waste of time, and I found a box labeled Mark's junk. It wasn't even mine. It was stuff she had no use for. My old baseball glove, a few college notebooks, some tools I never got to use because she hated clutter. And there, at the bottom, was a photo of us. Our first vacation. Cabo. I was tanned and grinning. She was wearing sunglasses and that fake smile she used for pictures. I stared at it for a while, then tossed it in the bin without flinching. The moment wasn't sad. It was cleansing. That night, I cooked steak and potatoes, poured a glass of red, and played one of the old jazz vinyls I had kept boxed up for years because Rachel said it gave her headaches. I leaned back in the chair, letting the music drift through the space, and thought, this is what peace sounds like. There's something sacred in doing nothing and not being afraid of it. The house didn't feel empty anymore. It felt mine. The echoes weren't of arguments or manipulation or sarcastic laughter. Just jazz. Just silence. Just the occasional creak of floorboards under my feet. And then, as life does, it threw a twist. A few weeks later, I was at the grocery store. I had headphones in, barely paying attention until I heard my name. Mark. I turned. It was Lauren, the sister, standing there in leggings and a windbreaker, no makeup, holding a basket of overpriced organic nonsense. Her eyes flicked up and down, probably noticing the way I'd changed. I dropped weight, grown a bit of a beard, looked alive again. I didn't expect to see you here, she said. I pulled out one headphone. Yeah, I live around here. She forced a laugh. Right. Of course. There was a pause. That awkward beat where she was probably debating if she should pretend to be warm or just walk away. She chose wrong. I just wanted to say, you know. I didn't mean anything by that comment at Thanksgiving. I tilted my head. You said my food tasted like garbage in front of 15 people. It was a joke, she shrugged. And Rachel, well, she was going through a lot. We all were. We all were. I'm not sure what you want me to say, Lauren. She exhaled through her nose. Nothing. Just maybe you could have handled it more privately. You kind of blew everything up. I stared at her. And I smiled. That's the thing. Sometimes you have to blow things up to see who's standing in the rubble. She blinked. I put my headphones back in, turned, and walked away. I didn't look back. Because that was the moment I knew. I didn't just survive the fire. I came out tempered, sharper, stronger. And I'd never let someone like Rachel or her sister stand in my kitchen and laugh at me again. Summer rolled in slow and golden, like a final act that didn't need fanfare, just warmth and quiet closure. I wasn't searching for anything anymore. Not forgiveness. Not revenge. Not understanding. The truth had already done its work. It carved everything down to the bone and left only what mattered. Me. I'd stopped checking Rachel's socials. Stopped wondering who she was with or what stories she was spinning. The woman I once knew, the one I married, trusted, believed in, was gone long before I ever saw the texts. The real her had been hiding behind borrowed smiles, manufactured intimacy, and layers of self-interest. She didn't leave me. She left the version of me that no longer bowed to her ego. And for that, I was grateful. A few weeks later, I stood on the deck behind the house, my house now, watching the sun set behind the trees. A slow-burning orange sky fading into bruised purple. I held a cold beer in one hand, phone in the other, and did something I hadn't done in a long time. I deleted every saved photo of us. Every trip. Every anniversary. Every fake smile. They were just pixels now, empty snapshots of a performance I no longer auditioned for. And when I was done, I breathed. Not a dramatic gasp, not some cinematic sigh, just a calm, honest breath. I was okay. Really okay. For the first time in years, I wasn't weighed down by someone else's chaos. No one was walking through the door late with weak excuses. No one was feeding off my kindness and calling it control. No more emotional chess matches disguised as marriage. Just air. Just silence. Just peace. If anyone ever asked me what I learned from it all, I'd say this. If someone shows you disrespect and expects gratitude, walk away. If someone laughs at your effort, let them lose access to your energy. And if someone betrays you and expects forgiveness without transformation, give them distance instead of mercy. There's power in stillness. Power in not chasing. Power in you being enough. Even when someone else tried to make you feel disposable. She played her games. And I walked off the board. Free. Whole. And finally, me.